Chapter 11. Feminism, put on trial.
All rise.
Sosuave.com enters the courtroom with extravagant robes. Like an old man, he walks slowly to the judge's chair and sits. Everyone else sits after him. Sosuave.com puts on his glasses and says softly,
What is the matter?
The officer quickly walked over to Sosuave.com and handed him the papers. Squinting through his glasses, he examined the papers.
Who represents the defense?
A feminist stands. Note, she is fat and ugly with a poisonous personality, as most feminists are.
You represent all women?
I do. Sosuave.com reads from the sheet.
You are accused of being Machiavellian rather than wise, calculating rather than smart, mimicking rather than confident, full of gestures rather than full of actions, a highwayman who changes personalities and clothes to steal man's egos, a mind-shaper who possesses no identity, no virtues, no morals, no truths, and is ultimately a barbaric, petty, childlike species who transform all these vices into virtues under the hypnotic state called love.
He looked up.
How do you plead?
Innocent.
Now let us hear the argument. The representative of the men may begin.
Pook jumped from his seat.
Thank you, Your Honor. Many men are afflicted with the disease known as nice guy patheticus. Now, the symptoms of such disease are awful. The afflicted male will sacrifice dead plants as tokens of affection, write bad poetry, will speak in a language of banquets, and act like a fool in every and all ways.
Objection!
Yeah, you would object.
The feminist snorted.
The matter is about women, not about men.
No.
Sosuave.com answered.
Women affect men's behavior. Let us hear the argument.
Pook smiled.
I call my first witness, the man with alligator skin when it comes to women, Anti-Dump.
Anti-Dump walks in and stands in the front. The officer rushes by and holds up a rather thick book. Place your hand on the DJ Bible. He did so. Do you swear, above all, to be a man, to speak the truth of everything woman, to live with no apology, to know what you want and how to get it, and live to the fullest so through Don Juan?
I do.
Pook paced back and forth.
Now, Anti-Dump, what would you suggest now to guys?
That men should stop trying to figure out if women or any woman likes them. Men are not women. Take off the dress, guys. It is women that wonder if a guy likes them before anything happens. Men have somehow picked up this bad habit from women.
Go on.
The thought of whether she likes you should never cross your mind. It is not important before you ask for the number. The important thing is you wanting her. Always ask yourself, do I want this one? And the answer should be, wow, boy do I. That is all you need to know. Real men take what they want.
Pook turned toward the jury, which had one of each 12 members plucked from the last 12 centuries to have a true verdict of history.
As Anti-Dump is saying, men are beginning to think like women. Obviously, feminism has made a great change. Your witness.
The feminist approached Anti-Dump with caution.
Why are you such a male-guided, hard-nosed pig?
But that's why you love me.
Disgusted, she said.
No more questions.
As Anti-Dump left the stand, Pook set up charts.
Members of the jury! In every age, no man would be afraid of a girl. Certainly, he would not look at a woman as one looks at a trialing Odyssey.
Pook turned toward the jury.
No, I have not gone berserk. I only agree with the DC sniper with one thing he said. Oprah Winfrey will cause the downfall of mankind. Hence, it remains for us to acknowledge the weeds of Babylon emerging around this garden of men. Young people are caught up in imitations they do not know, do not wish to understand, but vainly beat their chest, proclaiming how free they now are without realizing that they are entering a prison that took prophets, the blood of martyrs, crusades on the battlefield, for us to emerge. A flight of vultures, of feminist harpies, are circling overhead to pick at man as vultures picked at Prometheus. These feminists, both the female and male variety, believe that they are highly progressive and well advanced. Yet they are centuries behind the times. Feminism came without warning and conquered men. It has created a generation of neurotic males. A male of this time may be one of them. Do you believe it is wrong to judge a woman by how she looks? Do you believe it is wrong to advance on a woman, sexually, with no verbal consent? Do you believe women have been discriminated because of their gender, that males intentionally put women down? Do you believe that in sex, it is wrong to even consider to have your way with her and become and be the sensuous animal you've always dreamed? Do you believe women desire, as a priority, respect? If you believe in any of these things, even just a little, you have been affected by modern feminism. It is the virus that creates the effects known as nice guy patheticus. Women are judged on looks because you are judged on your looks, and women are much harsher about it. Feminists think a magazine picture tyrannizes young women. Forget my body, what about my mind, they say. But did you ever hear a woman say to the nice guy, "Your mind is great, but I love your body"? And every male is witness to the fact that women run towards testosteronized males. That is jerks. Why do men fail with women? It is because they respect them. This great respect men find in women is nothing more than a lack of self-respect, a lack of confidence. Woman's reflective nature must have something to reflect. If there is no confidence, there is no man. If there is no man, there can be no real male, and thus any love. A recent Time magazine cover blared
Pook pointed to it.
that men and women are biologically different. Time treated this as a great discovery. But didn't we all know this when we turned age 3 or 4? Feminism cannot see any biological differences between the sexes from the neck up.
The feminist interrupted.
Is there a point to all this?
Members of the jury notice her tidy suit. Men change their clothes to match their lifestyles and attitudes. Women change their lifestyles and attitudes to match their clothes. Put her in a hula dress, and she will start hula dancing.
Before she could object, Pook added,
Anyone who has thought about women will find little to value in them. The increase of thought about them, the increase of negativity is subscribed to them. The root of nice guy-ism is thinking too much about them. The more action you engage in, the more likely you are to get the hot chicks.
So Suave.com hammered the gavel and let the feminist call her witness. It was an average normal woman. The feminist's witness placed her hand on the Feminist Mystique book, whose true name is actually The Feminist Mistake. When she was done, Pook asked her some questions.
Many men ask, what is the purpose of feminism? After all, women have their votes, their careers, and their business suits. Normal movements shut down once achieving their goals. Thus, feminism is not a normal movement.
Now, let us question the women. The woman, representing all women, was in the stand. Pook walks around her slowly, tapping on the bright light overhead.
Why did you become a feminist?
Because I was everything else. I was a daughter. Then I became a woman. After that, I became a girlfriend. Then I became a wife and mother. I had been everything. I was bored. Being a feminist was it. There is nothing higher.
Pook makes his voice louder.
So you admit the truth.
I do. I confess.
Now we see the picture. Woman sees herself in relation to society. Women are in a never-ending war between mind and body. The body says yes, while the mind, ever remembering the status of reputation, says no. Oh, if there only was a something that could free women of this state.
Yes.
Something that could make bitches respectable
Yes.
and sluts sublime.
Oh, yes.
To turn the abandonment of motherhood into fulfilling a woman's potential.
Yes.
To make nagging infinite. To let fat girls feel free to get fatter, and to give ugly girls a societal role.
Oh, yes.
She falls unconscious.
That is the purpose of feminism. To let women do whatever they want with an air of morality, to turn feminine immorality into virtue. Thus, the problem of feminism is not men but women. The truth. Feminism is not declaring war on masculinity, but on femininity. Feminism is a political tower of Babylon to escape the truth of human nature. I'm in America. And I love foreign chicks. They are just so feminine. Here, the chicks act masculine and get fat. They find it shameful to place their time and talents into their family and children, whereas it should be their greatest joy. I think it is great honor, joy, privilege, and pleasure to be a man. Women can trump us as they can be a mother of men. There is much glory in masculinity and femininity, but feminists are against both. They attack masculinity and femininity as the former being the cause of oppressing, and the latter as the effect of the oppressed. Feminists desire a dull, gray, androgynous world without the sparkling lightning and glow that sexuality brings. The result is androgyny everywhere, with both genders putting their priority on sex. Here, there, anywhere, all positions, with all certain arrangements of threesomes, foursomes, orgies, etc. The reason why is because sex, something no law or political philosophy can touch, is the only thing that makes women feel like women and men feel like men. Everything else that revolved around it, the old-style dating, courtship of suitors, of gentlemen of class of charm, has been politicized out of existence.
Pook called forth a band of men.
Oh, gentlemen, what is left for men to do that is male?
Gadgets, sex with women, bodybuilding, sex with women, hunting, sex with women, video games, sex with women, beer, sex with women, Maxim.
What answers are these? Where there was once the concept of man as warrior, man as philosopher, man as many things, manhood has been savagely attacked and brought down by the earthly beast who glitters with political maxims and whose crown is academic scholarship that is supposed to prove its glitter. In other words, the concept that masculinity and barbarism are one of the same is their new ruling scepter. As long as people believe in this idea, they will sit on that throne. This ties into the belief that women have always been poor victims of masculinity, enslaved by the evil of manhood. I am pro-sex, not in the way of libertines acting out bestial episodes, but in the manner of sexuality. Some people here have said, "Pook, why do you bring in things like literature and historic men into this site? What do these have to do with anything?" They have everything to do with this site, for the majority of us are learning to embrace our sexuality, of both men and women. You can see sexuality as the key to the genius of Michelangelo's David and the dazzling energy and insight of Shakespeare. You can see the matter of sexuality bring up the great men onto the historical stage. You can find sexuality as being the core to great art and a key to genius. But with sexuality removed, no wonder the great writings, art, and personalities of our time are non-existent. Now, they are said to exist because of the politics behind them. But there is nothing great or time-defying in politics, so they will not last. I am not exaggerating. Look at college campuses. They are full of girls. Boys are failing more and more in school. Less and less men are marrying because they are on strike against the current climate. In sexuality, Atlas is shrugging. This website should not exist. We men should not have to inquire on mating practices, for what is more natural than that?
So Suave hits the gavel.
Get to the point, Pook.
It is proven that modern feminism has made men into apologizing neurotics. It has caused hell in the romantic union of the sexes. The virtue of feminism is to backstab men. So brood a part that feminism capitally plays that no man will be given any due achievement. But feminism has done its worst damage outside the romantic realm. The slow, cold rot of feminism has destroyed one male virtue after another until women cry out, "Where have the men gone?"
Pook pointed to the statistics showing females dominating universities and increasing their numbers.
Why is this? Because education has now become the process of degenderization. Before, education was to turn a boy into a man. Mathematics, philosophy, literature, and so on were all to be used as tools or guides for men against their fight of nature and time. These gentlemen had a style and class about them. They are extinct today.
The feminists started to complain again. So Pook addressed the point.
She says that society has always been toward patriarchy. In other words, Men have been suppressing women down through the generations with their institutions and hierarchies. In order for women to free themselves, they must have political power. Thus, feminism is the poisoned fruit of Rousseau and classical teaching. Classical teaching, the echo of Romanism, holds that society is artificial. Society is a machine to be tampered and tweaked by the emperor. To these people, law creates society rather than society creating law. Rather than hold that society being the symphony of the rights of man, this classical teaching puts society to be moved and sculpted by the law.
Pook takes out a scroll and reads,
Rousseau is made to say, whoever ventures to undertake the founding of a nation should feel himself capable of changing human nature, so to speak, of transforming each individual, who by himself is a perfect and separate whole, into a part of a greater whole, from which that individual somehow receives his life and his being, of changing the physical constitution of man in order to strengthen it, etc. If it be true that a great prince is a rarity, what, then, is to be said of a great lawgiver? The first has only to follow the model that the other constructs. The latter is the artificer who invents the machine. The former is only the operator who turns it on and runs it. So what are people in all this? Why, they are merely the blocks and parts of the machine. No wonder feminists throw themselves at the legislative palace. Let me call another witness, Miss Wildfire.
Wildfire approached the stand. She put her hand on the DJ Bible as the officer said, "Do you swear, above all, to be truthful, to speak the truth of everything woman, to live with no apology, to know what you want and how to get it, and live to the fullest so through Don Juan?" "I do." Pook started to ask her about feminism until Wildfire broke out ranting against it. "There isn't and never has been any patriarchy. That's a totally bogus concept. True, things were oppressive for women back in the day, but they were also oppressive for men. While women had less choices, men bore the lion's share of the responsibility. The right to vote came at a price, the price of potentially laying down your life to protect this country. That was the same price for owning land. There was not all the high-tech equipment we have today to help do the majority of the work. It was much harder work, and men did almost all of it, and all of the most dangerous. In fairness to women, they didn't have the vacuum cleaners, electric washing machines, or microwave ovens, so they worked hard. They were needed at home to keep the home running and the family cared for. It was a full-time job. These gender roles were required for survival. It was never some evil plot to hold women down. It was a necessity.
Your witness.
The feminist roared,
Explain the wage gap, then.
"It's a farce. Feminists claim that women are only paid 74 cents for every dollar a man makes. This angers a lot of women. The figures themselves are correct, but they are not presented truthfully. The numbers represent men and women as a whole, not comparing a man and a woman in the same company with the same seniority, same experience and education. Men as a whole will always make more than women as a whole because there are stay-at-home moms, wives who only work part-time, and women who take time off to have babies. Men also work more overtime and more of the dangerous and higher-paying jobs. It is against the law to pay a woman less than a man for the same job and qualifications, so anyone who believes this feminist lie is not very bright."
And the glass ceiling?
Yes, that proverbial glass ceiling. Feminists whine that there aren't enough women in corporate management. Hello? Women have only been in the workforce with more women working than not for the last 20 years or so. Most corporate managers have put that much time in with the company before getting one of those jobs unless he's a family member of the owner. It's about paying dues and earning those positions, and women will get there as soon as they pay those same dues and invest that same time. The feminist, defeated, said,
No more questions.
and Wildfire returned to her world. Now came the time for closing arguments. The jury of the 12 centuries listened attentively. The feminist ranted and raved. When she was done, Pook gave a calm and logical presentation, outlining what was already discussed. Feminism is essentially about desexualization. This is where nice guys, AFCs come from. This is why feminists are so bitter. But since sexuality is no longer embraced, male and female harmonics becomes disrupted. Androgynous people sport in sex since that is the only way to make them feel male or female. Because of this desexualization, art, leadership, and education suffer. Pook brought out another woman, one he met in flesh and blood. She was in her 40s. She said, "I don't believe in feminism. Women are the dominant sex. Men are so naive about relationships and sexuality. Men may be physically dominant, but women are emotionally dominant. Who controls the finances in most homes? It is the woman. Look in the banks and you will find them filled with women. I could be a woman in any age. But I would never wish to be a man in this age, where manhood has been condemned."
Members of the jury, consider the choice you are making. Of man or woman, this the choice of humanity. Shall civilization be a mankind who seeks to go forever forward and gain independence of spirit from the gross natural calamities that compose the flesh? Or shall civilization sigh into a womankind that retreats back to infancy, to a warm, milk-flowing sleep? For the all, this raised empires and rots them within. For the one, this attracts respect or dishonor to make the life a series of avalanching regrets. For who would walk the path of a man and bear the thorns, traps, and trolls that nature's filled? Of science, of philosophy, of art, for these are the stones of civilization. But how pure and blissful is the sleep that femininity dreams in? The dance and music of love's eternity, the wine, the song, the crest of love itself. The choice not taken is always the choice yearned for. But are there not two sexes? Has not nature divided humanity into two distinct parts? Then let us choose both. Let women be women and let men be men. Let one hold up the scepter of reaction, and the rest embrace the man, that infinite name of action.
The jury exited and made their decision. When they returned, Renaissance, Dark Ages, Middle Ages, Industrial Age, Pioneer Age, and so on took their seats. It was the 20th century that announced the verdict.
Guilty.
SoSuave.com announced the punishment.
Those who take feminism seriously will be condemned to bitterness, ugliness, and joylessness. Any males who listen will be condemned to loneliness, stuffed with nice guy patheticus. There is a war against men, gentlemen, and feminism is leading the charge. Guilt-filled men sound like this. Quote,
One of the reasons I started to care about radical feminism as much as I did was because it seemed to resolve for me a certain dilemma about myself in relation to other men. I had always felt irremediably different, even when no one else noticed I knew. I knew I wasn't really one of them. When I first began to come in contact with the ideas of radical feminism, those ideas seemed to put to rest that certain trouble. Radical feminism helped me imagine a gender-just future, a notion of a possibility that men need not be brutish and loutish, that women need not be cutesy and coy. It was a vision that energized me. It helped me view the whole male supremacist structure of gender as a social construction, not as a final judgment on our natures and not as a final judgment on mine. Radical feminism helped me honor in myself the differences that I felt between myself and other men. Radical feminism helped me know my connections to the lives of women, with whom I had not imagined I would ever find a model for who I could be. And it's also true, and not easy to admit, that radical feminism helped provide me with a form in which to express my anger at other men, an anger that in men can run very deep, as many of us know.
he is different from most guys because he refuses to be male. But he goes on, quote,
I think that for many men who have become anti-sexists over the past several years, their anti-sexism has had meaning to them for similar reasons. In various ways, feminism has blown like a gust of fresh air through a lifetime spent agonizing and anguishing about the place of other men in our lives. For a few of us, feminism has helped us breathe a bit easier.
Not so. By letting fat women get fatter, they choke on themselves. I see a couple of them riding those carts in grocery stores all the time. Quote, but it would be a mistake to suggest that a man's anti-sexism puts to rest his ambivalence toward other men. I think that an anti-sexist consciousness actually makes the conflict more acute. Such a man perceives even more clearly the behaviors and attitudes in other men that he rejects, and he understands more about what those behaviors and attitudes mean, and in a sense, They are the behaviors and attitudes in himself that he wants to be rid of. And somehow, other men can remind him of the parts of himself that have not changed very much at all. And whereas he briefly felt good about being different from other men, a part of him no longer feels quite different enough. So his anger at other men intensifies, as a means of keeping clear to himself that he's an exception. Meanwhile, he misses the company of other men, their ease, their companionship, the good feelings he remembers having had in their presence. For many men, the issue of other men is a classic conflict of approach and avoidance. For a man whose life increasingly has to do with anti-sexism, the conflict cuts to the bone. He struggles with what it means to be a man, and whether he feels ashamed or proud. And this guy feels ashamed. He actually wrote a book called Refusal to be a Man, which is what I'm quoting. So which is it, good reader? You must now make the choice. It all comes down to, so Suave's be a man, or alternatively, Oprah's be a man?
Good girls do cheat. Oh, so much to comment on in this thread. Deep dish congrats on pointing out the Dracula metaphor. There was a Native American myth of women who had teethed vaginas, in such the male does not exit the same as he entered. The Dracula metaphor is found in almost all mythologies in the world. Here is a passage from the Book of Proverbs. This book is intended to be advice for young men. What does it speak of? Why the same questions that are on this thread? It emphasizes heavily that wisdom is more important than any silver. It advises that one avoids these women and gives a beautiful description of the wife a young man should aim for. Quote,
For I looked out of the window of my house through the lattice, and I see little ones. I behold a foolish young man, who passeth through the street by the corner, and goeth nigh the way of her house, in the dark when it grows late, in the darkness and obscurity of the night. And behold, a woman meeteth him in harlot's attire, prepared to deceive souls, talkative and wandering, not bearing to be quiet, not able to abide still at home, now abroad, now in the streets, now lying in wait near the corners.
Already we see the ancient description of women being bored and very deceiving. Quote,
And catching the young man, she kisseth him, and with an impudent face flattereth, saying, I vowed victims for prosperity. This day I have paid my vows. Therefore I am come out to meet thee, desirous to see thee, and I have found thee. I have woven my bed with cords, I have covered it with painted tapestry brought from Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us be inebriated with the breasts, and let us enjoy the desired embraces till the day appear. For my husband is not at home, he is gone a very long journey.
the husband is gone. The woman is married. She is not single and literally devouring the young foolish male. Quote,
He took with him a bag of money. He will return home the day of the full moon. She entangled him with many words and drew him away with the flattery of her lips. Immediately he followed her as an ox led to the slaughter, and as a lamb playing the wanton, and not knowing that he is drawn like a fool to bonds, till the arrow pierce his liver, as if a bird should make haste to the snare, and knoweth not that his life is in danger.
his life is in danger. Why is this ancient tome of wisdom saying such a thing? It is speaking of spiritual life, of his soul. Yes, but no. Just look around for validation. I see a fleet of young men, obviously gone the path that above foolish male did, and have their lives sucked from them. They lose their ambition. They just sit about, drowning in sensuality. They have become merely boy toys. There is no man in them.
Quote, Now therefore, my son, hear me, and attend to the words of my mouth. Let not thy mind be drawn away in her ways, neither be thou deceived with her paths. For she hath cast down many wounded, and the strongest have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, reaching even to the inner chambers of death.
This is quite a condemning piece on these type of women, but the advice is sound. If the foolish young man could speak, he would say, Look at me! Look at me! I have sexed a married woman! Wow, that means I am really special. I have such skillsy. I am so awesome that I am bedding married women. The foolish youth is filled with vanity. He does not see that the woman is merely using and discarding him. It is like the guy who thinks the girl he is dating really, really likes him. In truth, She is just bored on Saturday night, and going out is better than being at home. All this talk of sexual revolution, of female independence, is a load of BS. As we can see, women have always acted this way. If there has been any sexual revolution, it has been in the decreased ignorance of sexuality. There are less and less men and ladies as time goes by. Rather than looking at things in a bad girl or good girl frame, it might be more helpful to look at it in a giving or non-giving frame. For example, the non-giving girl only sees you as a prop, as a boy toy, as an ATM card. This type of girl is all about her, of what she can get for herself. As a mother, she sees her children as merely agents to give her motherly feelings. She doesn't truly give her life for them or for the husband. The giving girl tends to be the sweet one. She sees children not as a bangle to give her more status to this world or motherly feelings, but as someone to sacrifice and invest her life within. She even has that attitude towards you. She is the ideal wife and mother. Rather than good or bad girl, I think the giving and non-giving frame is more illuminating. BP 1947. I really liked your post. Quote,
A man can't commit to a set of female genitals, only to a whole woman who knows how to act like a woman and how to make her man feel like a man.
exactly. Sexuality has been so perverted to think anything with the genitals. It involves the entire body, mind, and soul. Quote,
Women want their man to make them feel like a woman. Well, it works both ways. Most women nowadays offer little more than regular sex, and when sex is so easily offered, why should any of us guys bother to commit?
I keep reading news stories, a trend, of young men shrugging off marriage, like Atlas shrugging off the world. The distinction is excellent. Rather than seeing women as just female genitals with their breasts, butt, etc. Being merely genital ornamentation, men do want to marry only real women. But with every woman I come across, they all say, I understand men. You won't find a male who will say such a thing about women with any real confidence. They think they know how to control men, how to make men happy. But they are so vain and so wrong it is laughable. All we learn on sexuality nowadays are stale evolution theories, bogus psychologies, and bumper sticker political statements. There is no real knowledge on sexuality these days. There is no emphasis on girls to become ladies or boys to become men. It's time for the world to have a true sexual revolution. Attention whores. BG Man wrote,
People who read and actually believe what crows wrote will be strung around and used by attention whores unless you wake up.
Yes, it does appear there are attention whores who do all they can to get male attention. But I prefer to think of them as loving the sport rather than the fruits of the sport. They enjoy fishing, but not the caught fish. Women do become more attached to guys who take their virginity and often return to them. But what Crow says is quite correct. Guys, please read the following until it gets ingrained in your head. Pook hops up to the platform and shouts, Women do not know the difference between sex and respect. Women treat sex like money because women see it as a medium of exchange. You could even cynically say that we men treat respect and money like sex, since we expect it to get pregnant and reproduce. But nevertheless, but what is the point? It is this. If we are going to talk about a woman's integrity, then we are going to be here forever. As much as I can see, the only reason why the lady has what we think of as integrity is for her to keep her man, to honor her parents, the father especially, or because of the male virtues ingrained through religion. Remember, women do not have the appreciation for the higher codes of honor and transcendence as we men do. They only appreciate it in males, never in themselves. BG Man, you decry the attention whores, but femininity is exactly that. What is it that women most fear? It is to be the old maid. It is to never know the fleeting emotion known as love. It is to never have known a lover. Pook holds up a tablet. On this tablet, we see the male virtues. We see things like philosophy, honor, and so forth. We see things like chastity in women, girls staying true to a single guy, and so on. Pook now holds up another tablet. These are the female virtues. In Womaniverse, women perform a natural aristocracy based solely on who gets the most attention from men. Pook points to the top. The highest point is marriage. The married chick is always on a higher plane than any non-marriage chick in this aristocracy. She has a man bounded by her. Thus, she is womanly, she is feminine. While men dream of a day when having respect from all people in the world, women dream of their marriage day. Why? Because it is their transcendence. Pook points lower on the tablet. We move down further, and we see a pattern. The woman engaged comes next. Then, a woman who has a boyfriend. After that, a woman who is pretty and has potential for getting a male. Pook points to the bottom of the tablet. The woman that can get no male, why, she is looked down upon as other woman and seen as a subhuman being. In a woman's eye, it is better to be a whore than an old maid. Pook holds up the female tablet. What are we to learn of womanly virtues? Nothing. They are decadent. Men can rank themselves on who can best conquer the world, while women will rank themselves on who does and can best conquer men. Male attention, these are the points to their feminine score. They are all attention whores on some level. You may think that there are only some women who seek male attention, the attention whores, while the rest are good. This is a nice guy illusion, just as some women want sex while others are good, where in fact they all want it, especially the nice girls. All women crave male attention. Period. Of course, a woman like that may possibly leave you for another guy. The point is that these attention whores are following the female tablet's virtues. They will realize that if they want a decent man, they must start following the male tablet. Pook throws the female tablet down in an explosion of fire. Rather than trying to figure out woman, how can you figure out nothing? As King Lear would say, nothing comes from nothing. Let us take up this. Pook holds up the male tablet, and let us be men once again. The entire series is available on YouTube for free. But if you'd like to own a copy and support my work, you can purchase the 10-hour audio and PDF on Gumroad. The link is in the description.